And of course, when I got here, it was an empty blank slate, and I had to spend money to make it a home. I spent $365 to turn this from an empty van into a home. Hi everyone, welcome back to my next video. So today I am in an odd place, of course. I'm standing in front of a U-Haul truck in a U-Haul rental center. I just returned this U-Haul. I flew to Alaska and I rented a van for 6 days. And I want to tell you about that experience. And I want you to consider whether, if you're driving a long ways and spending some time someplace, if you wouldn't be better off leaving your van with friends or even in storage and flying and renting a U-Haul. Renting a U-Haul is an amazing deal. So the first reason you would want to rent a U-Haul, for example, is if you're thinking now about becoming a nomad and it's such a huge leap, you don't know if you can do it. Well, you could rent a U-Haul. This was $389 for 6 days rent. I'd only put 200 miles on it or less. If I had got it for the 6 days and put 750 miles on it, which is quite a bit of miles, then it would have been $589. It went up by 200. So it's $20 a day for the rig. So I only paid $120 to rent it. The rest was the mileage rate. So the mileage rate is a pretty big deal. And if you don't drive much mile, you just rent it, you drive out of town to a state park, a national forest park, a campground or boondocking, and you just stay out there. You may not drive very many miles, and so it won't cost you much. But then you will have actually lived in a van. And when you go to make that final decision, I'm going to become a van dweller or I'm not, you will actually have lived in a van for a while. The next circumstance is just what I've done. I flew from Denver, Colorado to Anchorage, Alaska. I came to visit my son and I wanted a vehicle to drive. I was here for 9 days and I was here for 10 days and I rented the van for 6 of them because we had other plans along the way. So if you're going for 10 days, this is something to really consider. Say you're going to, now it's 3,500 miles from Flagstaff, Arizona to Anchorage, Alaska. So the round trip would be 7,000. The last time I did this trip from Flagstaff to Anchorage, around Alaska, then back, I put on 10,000 miles. Well, the way you figure the cost per mile is the IRS standard deduction for driving a vehicle is 65.5 cents. You multiply that out and you're up at about $5,000 in costs of going to and from Alaska by driving. Now, we tend to think, oh, it's only the cost of gas, but it is not only the cost of gas, and the cost of gas would have been really high for a 9,000, 10,000 mile trip. And that seems like a lot, but say you're in Quartzsite and you want to go to Florida because you have family there and you want to go back and see your family. Well, that's 2,500 miles back and forth, 5,000 miles. You're probably putting another 1,000 miles in on driving around and seeing things. That's 6,000 miles. So it's not just really quick trips. Say you're in Vermont, that's even further probably than either one of those trips. So wherever you are, if you're going to drive a long ways, then you should really think about renting a U-Haul. And again, one of the things we think is, well, all I have to consider is the cost of the gas. No. You're putting miles on this thing. You put 10,000 miles, that's depreciation. That makes it worth a whole lot less. Think about this. 10,000 miles is a fifth of your lifetime of your tires. So that's 20% of the life of your tires. If tires cost you $500, then you've spent $100 in tires, in wear and tear on those tires. We don't think of that. Oil changes. If you drive 10,000 miles, that's 3 oil changes. That's $300 right there. You're racking up a lot of costs. That's why the 65 cents a mile seems like a lot, but it really isn't when you factor in depreciation, maintenance, repairs. The roads in Alaska are kind of rough. You'll hurry up some of your repairs. So it's a lot cheaper to fly in and rent a U-Haul probably than you think, and will save you much more money than you think. So I rented this for 6 days. Let's say I had rented it for 3 weeks. So I rented it for 3 weeks instead. Well, the cost would have been mostly the miles. $20 a day times an extra 10 days would be another $200, and and then all the miles you're going to drive. And they only charge you for the miles you actually drive. They put a hold on your credit card. You have to have a credit card here. Let me warn you that right now, a debit card won't do. You have to have a credit card at U-Haul. So you put a hold on they'll put a hold on your credit card, including how many miles you're guessing you'll drive. But you fly in, and my tickets to Alaska were $800, and that was high. I was at the last minute, and I got the pretty darn good connections. That's one reason it was so high. I could have gotten them as low as $500 if I didn't care about the connections and the layovers. I could have got it as low as $500. So let's call it $600. Decent connections, give it some more notice. $600 flying. Anchorage is a long ways away, of course, from Denver. So $600 for the airfare, and I rented the van for $389. If you stayed longer, of course, it will start going up, probably another couple $100 a week, and then more for mileage. They really charge you on mileage. And of course, when I got here, it was an empty blank slate, and I had to spend money to make it a home. I spent $365 to turn this from an empty van into a home. So all total, I spent about $1,300 on this. However, I can almost guarantee you that had I driven my ambulance up here, it would have been much, much more. I also checked, well, how about if I just rent a car and then I'll sleep in a tent and it won't cost me as much to outfit the van. The cheapest car I could find in Anchorage was $1,000 a week for the smallest car they had. And by the time I got up into a middle-sized SUV or a minivan, it was $2,000 a week. So that's much, much more than a U-Haul. You're getting your rental car, and you're getting your home. So if you fly up here to be a tourist, and a lot of you want to go to Alaska to be a tourist, I think flying in, renting a U-Haul, driving it around is something to give serious thought to doing. It will save you thousands of dollars over driving up here in the long run. Wear and tear on your vehicle, gas, oil changes, tires, maintenance, future maintenance costs, repairs. So I think you should really give serious thought to taking long trips, renting a U-Haul, and staying there in that. So a third reason you might consider renting a U-Haul is that if your rig breaks down, it's going to be in the shop for a while, where are you going to stay? Hotel, motel, that's pretty expensive anymore. $60 kind of as a minimum. What if you're somewhere where all the cheapest you can buy is $200? You're going to spend $200 a day on a motel? No, I don't think so. But you can rent a U-Haul, and for $20 a day plus mileage, you won't probably have to drive many miles, and just call them, find the status of your rig. Most auto shops will do a courtesy call. They'll take you to the rental place, and then once you return it, they'll come and pick you up and take you back to your rig when it's finished. So, you may never have to do an Uber at all if you rent a U-Haul. So there you have it. Reasons why you would consider flying somewhere, renting a U-Haul, and staying it and living out of it instead of driving, or to practice learning if you want to be a van dweller. I think this is a fantastic opportunity, and most people aren't aware of how cheap it is. Again, $388 to rent the van for 6 days, and I spent $365 to outfit it, but I could easily have done that for $200. I probably did more than I absolutely had to do. Okay. I hope this gave you some ideas about how to travel and prepare yourself for living a van dwelling life. If it did, then like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you later. And remember, die with memories. Rent a U-Haul, go somewhere, and get more and more and more memories. Don't die with regrets. I wish I had, I wish I could have, I should have. Die with those memories and a really good life. All right, we'll talk to you later.